Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It's a little after 7 p.m. here on Monday, the 20th of June, 2016. Thanks for logging on here to my latest forecast update. Active weather week shaping up. In fact, we've already got a severe thunderstorm watch out to our north. That won't affect us tonight, but we take a live look at radar here. We do have a few showers that have popped up around the area. My forecast was for some isolated showers around the area, and as we put this into motion, you see a few dots on the map here over the past hour and a half or so, but really just not a whole lot of action going on. We'll see some showers try to make their way run for it here later tonight, but really probably just going to have a hard time doing that. We do have some stronger storms up to the north. No warnings out right now, though. That is where the severe thunderstorm watch is. That will make their way down towards the southern part of the state eventually as as they try to move down. You put this into motion, you can see there's been some of the warnings, and they're kind of sliding their way towards this way. So you might affect the far southeast corner of the state, but I really think for most of us here, southwest Indiana, probably going to get missed out. Not a whole lot in the way of anything going on tonight, just a couple of showers. Seymour looks to be getting a pretty decent little shower right now. There's a little shower out there south of Petersburg in Pike County, but not much else going on, and just not a whole lot really going to be going on tonight as far as that goes. Now, we have an active weather pattern coming our way the next few days. In fact, we got some severe weather risks to talk about for tomorrow and for Wednesday and for Thursday. Let's go ahead and talk about it first. First off, before we look at the actual risk areas, let's look at the modeling. Let's get an idea of what's going on. We have a cold front that is off to our north, and that cold front is going to be dropping down our way. And as it drops down, it'll drag some rain with it, and by here you see those showers and storms that are in northern Indiana at the time sort of fizzle out as they head towards us and maybe refire tomorrow, but just not a whole lot in the way of storms tomorrow. Things could get going, a little spotty in nature. I will say, as I said in my last video update last week, the model's just not handling this pattern that we are in right now, and so for example, the storms that are going on in northern Indiana, the models just really didn't see these until absolute last minute. We know that because it's a northwest flow that we're going to be in an active pattern. That's just the way things go. But the models are really struggling to see that right now. And so we're not going to be able to rely on models as fully as we would like to. That's just going to be the nature of the beast. But here we go into Tuesday night. We've got some storms that are going to move their way down here. And it looks like by the time we wake up on Tuesday morning, we've got some rain that could be moving in there. But later on Wednesday and into Wednesday night, we've got a period of potentially some very active severe weather off to our north right there. In fact, what we could see is a potential MCS, a mesocell convective system, or it could even potentially be a derecho, which a derecho is a widespread and long-lived damaging wind event, and that's certainly possible. You'll hear that word thrown around with this. Not a guarantee by any means with this, but certainly it looks like some damaging winds, but I think that's probably going to stay off to our north there. But Thursday, though, could be a different story as that next cold front, as this moves off to our east, the next cold front comes with it, and we've got still some showers and thunderstorms to move into the area. There'll be some instability left. That actually may be our better day for some showers and thunderstorms around here, which is kind of ironic because if you take a look at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook, they've got the slight risk down to our south tomorrow, us underneath of a marginal risk. Again, it's going to be pretty spotty tomorrow. Not many people will see some storms unless it ends up being greater coverage than the models are seeing, and that's certainly a possibility. We'll keep an eye on it, but not a strong risk for severe weather for us the way things look right now. As we head into Wednesday, there's a very strong risk of severe weather up to our north. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this doesn't get upgraded to a moderate risk for northern Indiana. But again, I think the strong portions of that severe weather are going to stay well to our north, and those of us down here, maybe even questionable whether we get a whole lot of rain on Wednesday, and we'll talk about that here in a minute as to why. Then on Thursday, Storm Prediction Center has the severe weather moving off to our east, although I'm not really convinced that that doesn't need to extend back a little bit further to the west than it does right now, and in future updates they may end up doing that, because I think Thursday could actually be the stronger chances of severe weather for us down here in southern Indiana, simply by virtue of that's when the storms will come to us. And let me show you the reason why here. As we take a look at the jet stream, we go up into the atmosphere, into the mid layers. What you see here is we got a very strong ridge of high pressure again out to our west. We call this the Sonoran Ridge, and it's still extending all the way into us. And so Right about now, we still have the 594 height line here, pretty close to the state line here, and that's allowing not much of anything to pop up. There's a few thunderstorms, showers that have popped up, but that's why you don't see much coverage here, and you've got the greater coverage of storms here as you're a little bit further away from that ridge, a little bit there further to the north. What you want to do whenever you're tracking that is you want to look for where that 588 line is, and that's what this height line is right here, the 588 line. Along that 588 line and to the north of it, that's where you end up usually getting the good thunderstorm development whenever you're in a ring of fire situation, which is what this is called. It's just sort of a ring of fire because storms can't travel through here. They sort of have to travel up and over and around this ridge, and typically you look at that 588 line for what we would call that magic line to kind of help us understand where those storms would go. It's off well to our north, and I want you to take a look what goes on though the next couple of days as this ridge sort of retreats back to the west. That line angles down over us, and so we've got that stormy pattern coming over to us. This is called a northwest flow. That means things are going to be active around here again, no matter what the models would necessarily say to us. Models are not going to catch everything, oftentimes until last minute, and they're going to do a very poor job at it. And that's where it takes understanding the science of meteorology to be able to predict these things. And we know that whenever we have this, that we're going to get an active stormy pattern with this for somebody. But it's a question of who's going to get it. Well, again, look where that 588 line is coming through on Tuesday. It's cutting through right through southern Indiana. And so if you're south of this in the Evansville area, you're probably not going to get a whole lot starting out on Tuesday because of that. Right along and north of that line is your better chances, and then watch what happens here on Wednesday. That line retreats back to the north as high pressure starts to build in back to the east, so that by the time you get to Wednesday evening here at 8 p.m., this is what you've got going on, that 588 line here north of Indianapolis. And so because of that, you're probably going to have a zone of those storms that would fire. If we end up getting a damaging wind event out of that, what you're going to see is it's going to be an event that's going to be here in northern Indiana into Ohio, but certainly not leave us under the gun. And under this situation, with that being so far to the north and the ridge being so close here, the ridge comes all the way up to about Paducah here. With us being closer to that than the 588 line, I think what you would see here for those of us in southwest Indiana especially is that we're probably going to have a hard time buying some thunderstorms on Wednesday. Now Tuesday night into Wednesday, I think there will be some showers that come through, but they're going to fizzle out, and eventually we're not going to see a whole lot on Wednesday until late in the day, and there's big questions of whether we'll see a whole lot with that or not. And then again, Thursday, though, that things will change. The ridge still starting to retreat back a little bit there, and as the cold front sinks south, that could give us the chance of some of those storms. So we'll just have to see. Future radar almost useless at this right now. It's catching on to those storms in northern Indiana now, but it took it until it's run this afternoon, literally when the storms had already fired to see it. It didn't even see it on this morning's run. It's doing a very, very poor job. So we'll take this with an extreme amount of salt. But here we start off on Tuesday morning, not seeing much around the area, and what you're seeing is just a spotty storm or two on Tuesday around the area. Not a whole lot going on. It has a little complex that wants to dive in here on early Wednesday morning as it comes down, and that might bring us a little bit of rain Wednesday morning, but that moves off to the east. And again, as that height lines start to increase, goes up a little bit to our north, that's going to keep the area up in here under the greatest risk on Wednesday evening for severe weather. And you can kind of see that as we get out later into the period. What you see is it tries to form a squall line and push it down through, but well off to our north, and not really any effect for us here in southern Indiana. This does not go out to Thursday, so we can't show you that yet, but I do think that Thursday would have a stronger risk for those severe storms. Now, on Wednesday, I think it stays off to our north there again. We take a look at a little closer view of the upper level jet stream charts. There's the 588 line right there. Again, just as a closer view to show you it's well off to our north. There's the better wind energy with it. Pretty meager wind energy down over us, which makes me think that once that shower and storm complex early morning moves through on Wednesday, probably not going to see a whole lot the rest of the day the way things look if this ends up being the reality. We do have a pretty strong mid-level jet stream though at 850 millibars. This is about 4,000 feet up. and those winds are pretty cranking, especially as you get into northern Indiana. We've still got a little bit of wind speed down here, so anything that does get going on Wednesday could have the potential to go severe, and especially with the CAPE that we've got, convective available potential energy. This is just instability in the atmosphere. Well, certainly we've got the energy that we need for it, and we've got some winds. You need 35 to 40 knots of winds somewhere in the atmosphere to be able to get organized severe weather, and we've got about 35 or so around the area. So right now on Wednesday during the evening for us, even though the stronger storms look to be off to the north, if we could get a rogue storm come this far south, it could support some severe weather. But it's going to be very hard, and it's something we're not going to know exactly whether this is right. Is the position of this best severe weather, is it really going to stay in northern Indiana, or is it going to come a little bit more towards the south? Really, that's something that we're not probably going to be able to see. Excuse me. Excuse me, folks. Something that we're probably not going to see really for sure until about Wednesday morning, because these models are just, as I said, handling this situation pretty pathetic. But then again, as we go into Thursday, we'll have our better chances of rain. By the way, you can illustrate this by just taking a look at where any of the damaging storms would go. This is 24-hour accumulated precipitation ending on Thursday morning, and just look right here. This would be your severe storm line coming through here, and sort of if there would be a derecho, this isn't, the GFS is not really indicating it. It would be a lot longer lived than this, but certainly it could be a damaging storm complex nonetheless, dropping some very beneficial rains on northern Indiana where they need it. But notice this. You have next to nothing down here over southwest Indiana. You might have a tenth to, this has a whopping 2/100ths of an inch in this particular spot. Not a whole lot going on Wednesday, as I've been saying this, but QPF, quantitative precipitation forecast, is what this is. These precip forecasts are about useless in a pattern like this. So this is just something that we're going to have to watch and see come Wednesday. The potential is there, but I think the stronger potential is more off to the north. And then really what we want to go here is to take a look through Thursday about what we can expect. Let me put this forward here a little bit more in time. And what we will see is there is the storm chances that come through on Thursday, and here is the precipitation that would come with it. And again, some of these heavier blue areas are an indication of where you've got training of storms going on at. And so there's some indication that, yes, possibly we could see some storms on Thursday, and that might potentially be on the stronger side. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Even though they don't have us technically in that risk, I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't extend a little bit further off to the west. We'll keep an eye on that and see. It doesn't look like a major risk right now, but it does look like the best chance for us to get some storms this week the way things go. All right, here is your forecast, folks. Go to the southernindianaweather.com website, brand new website, completely redone, by the way. Looks good on mobile as well. Here's the desktop version. Again, down to a muggy 72 degrees tonight with some storms around the area, again in a more isolated fashion. Some spotty type of stuff tomorrow. I think it'll become more scattered as we head into the overnight hours on Tuesday night, but then Wednesday, again, scattered showers and thunderstorms primarily during the morning, and then after that it's going to be a big question of whether we see anything scattered throughout that evening or not. We'll run with a 50% chance of rain, and we'll adjust accordingly, but still very warm, 89 your high. Thursday looks like highs in the lower 90s around the area after we get some of those storms move through the out. Finally, rain free for Friday. That's not bad, but then you got an active period coming up Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, where you got temperatures in the upper 80s and low 90s, and you've still got storm chances around the area. Isolated chances Saturday, isolated chances Sunday, some spotty chances both there on Monday and Tuesday. Not big chances, but in this pattern, that's about the best that we can get right now. It's going to be the haves and the have-nots. Those who have the rain will get it and may end up getting fair amounts of it. And those who don't get the rain are just not going to get much, and it's just over a short distance you may end up finding that. And again, that's exactly what you see when you have a pattern like this, where you have a strong ridge set up and you find yourself on the edge of this ridge. That's what you end up with, and that's going to be the story, the way things look as we close through June. All right, folks, tomorrow looks like a pretty spotty day out there with some storms. Enjoy the weather, though, a little bit cooler, highs in the mid to upper 80s around the area. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite, that's your forecast. Thanks for watching.